Welcome to this episode of Brain Strength, the series where this average fool occasionally does some athletic things and demonstrations while teaching you a thing or two about sports psychology along the way so you can be the best you. I'm your host, RJ Lynch, mental performance consultant, and with my master's in sports psychology, let's get this thing rolling. In this episode of Brain Strength, I want to talk a little bit about the athlete-coach relationship. One of the main competencies that I do believe helps athletes be the best them, and talk about how important it is to have a strong relationship there, both as the athlete and as the coach, so that everybody does better. So understanding athlete-coach relationship, it's the relationship between the athlete and their coaches, and it's crucial for the athlete's development and team's performance as a whole. Generally built on the following things: trust, communication, respect, support, empathy, and goal alignment. Now, the relationship doesn't have to have everything, but if most of those things are there, you're usually going to have a better relationship, things are going to be better overall, and just performances are going to happen. And quick thing before I forget later, this is a two-way street. Yes, the athlete has to trust that their coach has their best intentions in mind, but the coach also has to trust the athlete that they're going to follow through, do things, that they have the team's best interests in mind and they're not just being a selfish little prick. The coach has to communicate effectively to the athlete, but the athlete also has to communicate back as well. Both have to respect each other. All of these things, it's a two-way street, and if one's missing, it's going to affect the other side as well. So what does it look like when the relationship's good versus bad? Well, when it's good, the athlete's highly engaged. They want to be at practice. They want to talk to the coach. They want to be there and listen, learn, partake in drills. They think everything's spectacular. Everything is awesome. Everything is great. Even on the bad days, they want to be there. When the relationship ain't good, the athlete kind of just shows up, brushes things off, talking to their friends, doing their own thing in the corner, going through the motions, whatever it is.
Basketball is a voluntary activity. It's not a requirement. Any of you feel you don't want to be on a team, feel free to leave right now. Did you hear what I said? Me?
When the relationship is good, feedback is constructive and specific. And this, once again, can be a two-way street. That the coach is giving technical feedback on things as being specific, like you need to do this in particular by doing this, this, and that. But also the athlete can be giving feedback as well, like, hey, when you coach us like this, or when you say this, I really don't understand it. Could you explain something differently? They're being constructive. They're giving specific feedback, pointing to what things need to be changed, need to be improved.
There you go. You almost had it. Hey, listen. If I can teach my son how to walk, I can teach you these steps. You can do it.
When the relationship is bad, things are overcritical or vague. Coach is saying, you suck at everything. Why are you here? Get out of my face. Or the vague of like, that was a bad drill. Well, what about it was bad? What is going on here? Can you give me something? Those kind of things. Or it's for the athlete just saying, you suck as a coach. You're terrible. I hate you. Why do I listen to you? Or being like, I don't understand. What don't you understand? What do you need me to explain? Everything? Just this, that? Can you give me a little bit more? And this constructive part carries over now to a good or bad relationship for conflicts. So no matter how much you like a coach or how much you trust them, eventually there's going to be a moment where people are going to butt heads. And when a good relationship is occurring, you're able to talk about it effectively, be kind to each other, be constructive, be like, hey, I feel this way when this happens. They're using a lot of I feel statements instead of you do this poorly or you do that in this. Then when the relationship is good, the environment is good, everybody wants to be there, they're happy. When it's bad, it's tense and unsupported. So a couple quick science bits. And this is really about leadership as much as it is about the athlete-coach relationship. But first thing you have to understand is the idea of social identity. When people identify with the team, identify with the sport that they're going to be more engaged, they're going to be more connected, they're going to want to be there. And a leader, a good coach, somebody who is very connected to their athletes is going to shape that identity and make them want to be there more as well. Leadership effectiveness. Being an effective leader comes down to a couple things. It comes down to your style of leadership, to the preference of the athletes, and the situation. So not every athlete is going to connect to a coach who acts one way. Sometimes you need someone that's going to tell you what to do, who's going to yell in your face, while others are going to need someone that's kind and very this and that, very soft-spoken. So being an effective leader, having an effective relationship is about figuring out how to use different styles, figuring out the preferences of the different athletes, and then adjusting to the situation. And then the last one's what we call emotional contagion theory. It's this idea that leaders influence emotions. As the coach, if you're super angry, your athletes are usually super angry. If you're very calm, your athletes usually follow they're super calm. So understanding this, and the stronger your relationship is in this athlete-coach relationship, the more that occurs. The more that your athletes like you, the more they're attached to you, the more they're going to model how you act. So what I do as a Mental Performance Pro, first thing is mediation. If a coach brings me into a team, it might be conversations that I am mediating between. Sometimes people suck at communication, and I might help them have a more constructive conversation to figure out how they build this relationship, how to talk to each other better without them being one-on-one and just yelling at each other. The next thing, whether it's with the coach or the athlete, I might simulate a conversation. So I will have them sit there, and if they have a conversation they might want to have with their coach, or the coach might want to have with an athlete, if I'm working with them one-on-one, I take the role of the other person and have them speak to me as if I was the problem. And depending on how much I know about the person they're trying to simulate with, I might agitate things a little bit to see if you're able to hold your ground, stay calm, or I might go along with it, speak kindly on things, just play around with different ways that the person might respond, so that when you get to the conversation, you have a stronger toolkit of how do I do things? How do I talk with them? How do I build this relationship that I know is important? Next up is talk therapy, just the classic psychologist, counselor, consultant with a client. Sometimes people just have issues, and we've got to work them out. Sometimes the thing you need to build an athlete-coach relationship is to fix you first. Truthfully, 95% of the time, you have to fix you first before you can have that honest relationship, have that better conversation. Going back to mediation a little bit, one of the things we might do in it is some role reversals. So I have them sit there, have the coach be the athlete for a moment, the athlete be the coach, and have them just model what they would like to have said, what they think needs to be said, and just put them in their shoes so they have to walk that mile and truly understand where the other person is coming from. Next up is some active listening. Whether it's to me, whether it's in a group session, whatever it is, have the person sit down and work on just listen. So if 95% of the issues we have are things that we have to fix ourselves, of that, 95% of those issues, a lot of times when it comes down to the relationship piece that we have to fix, is our ability to listen. We're great at hearing people. We're great at listening for a moment to respond, but we have to learn how to listen, to sit with the thought, to really digest what we're hearing, so that we can speak from a more informed stance instead of just listening like, all right, now it's my turn to speak, because that's where things just go wrong. And then finally, we might do a little bit of assessment of just how you like to communicate. Some people are very good at being in front of others and just talking with groups, talking one-on-one. saying things this way. Others need to be doing things. I know some people that if I put them chair to chair, just look at each other, are just going to sit there and stare for a half hour. Whereas if I take them out to a basketball court or a golf course and have them talk there, that might be better for them because they need that kind of motion, that activity to communicate. Some are better writing their thoughts down first and then reading it off. So we just might assess what they need to actually have a better talk, because whatever they're doing now is not working to build that relationship. As coaches, how do you build that relationship better? Number one, have regular check-ins. As a coach, every week you should strive to have at least a minute, 2-minute conversation with every athlete about something that's not just the sport. Show them that you care about who they are as people. And then they're going to care about more of you as a person. And it's just going to make things easier. Or another thing you can do with check-ins is once a week, maybe on Fridays, you sit there like, all right, for the last 15 minutes of practice, I'm just going to have question and answer sessions. Anybody who's got a question about things we're doing, has a question about why we do certain things, I will sit here, I'm going to listen to it, and we'll try to give you an answer. If I don't have an answer, we're going to discuss how we can make things better. Next thing is have preseason meetings, and though I don't have it written here, have season meetings throughout the year where you check on your goals, your culture, have them have a piece of it, especially for your captains who have some buy-in, have some reason that they want to be here. They should have some piece of the culture conversation. They should have some say in the goals that you set, because then they're going to care more. They're going to send that care, that love that they have to the other athletes. They're going to inspire that way as long as they have a piece of the pie, as long as they have some skin in the game. Next up, you might do some scenario simulation. Lastly, work to try to create a trusting environment. And how do you do this as a coach? You watch yourself, you improve yourself. The main reason you wouldn't have a trust-filled environment is because when people make mistakes, come to you with questions, come to you with disagreements, you shut them down, you tell them they suck, things are horrible, whatever it is, you just create an iron curtain and you say, that's it. If you want a trust environment, be open to feedback, listen to your athletes, hear them out. Maybe what they say is completely out there. You don't have to take everything into account, but you have to give them a space where you can listen and then explain like, all right, I hear you out. The conditioning has been a bit much. I can look to see if we can make some adjustments, but based on what I was noticing at the end of games, people are just looking tired and exhausted, so I want a little bit more base right now, and then as we get later in the season, we'll cut more of it out. That's a much better conversation than just, nope, we're going to still do our conditioning. I don't care. Cry about it. No one wants to be there. Nobody's going to want to speak with you or have a relationship with you. If every time you get feedback, you just shut down like, you're wrong, I'm right. Take it or leave it. So that's all I have for today's session of Brain Strength. If you have any questions, go to our website, set up a session, and we can have conversation. Otherwise, until next time, if I say anything today that you found offensive in any way, I hope you can forgive me. And if there's anything you say in the comment section that I find offensive, no, I'll probably forgive you for it. So until next time, Brain Strength out.